David Heurtel in for Aaron and Natasha. Well, I'm joined now in studio by Conservative Party of Quebec leader Éric Duhaime. Eric, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, David.
Thank you so much for taking the time today.
It's a pleasure. It's not working today. It's like it's a day off, right?
It is a day off. Absolutely. No, I enjoy the holidays. We were talking off air when you were in my seat, when you were a radio host in Quebec City. You said you enjoyed hosting during the holidays.
Absolutely, because we don't imagine how much people are lonely, and it's a period of time that, yes, there's a lot of celebrations, but for those who are very alone, it's not necessarily like a huge celebrations. It's a lot of sadness, and we forget that radio is a good link to keep in touch with those people and to cheer up and to be with you and to feel less lonely.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great way to keep a conversation going with people, and I love doing it. So now our roles are reversed. Yeah. You're the politician. I'm the radio host.
So you're the one hitting and the one receiving.
No, I'm not hitting today. Not hitting today. But it's a time also to have a real conversation. Easy one. I mean, how did you spend the holidays?
Oh, well, mainly here in town. We went for Christmas at in my boyfriend's family and with my relatives, and for New Year's we were with friends in the Laurentians. I even did something that I've never ever did before. I did that 2 days ago. I went. It's in the lake, Lac des Saint-Îles. It's in the Laurentians, and we decided, my friend and I, we went into the lake. We went with the chainsaw in the afternoon and dig the hole and everything.
There was ice. Okay,
underneath the ice, and we went with. But we didn't stay there. We just went there.
You did a cold water dip?
Cold water dip just for a few seconds.
Wow, you took the plunge?
Yeah, I did.
How did it feel?
Well, the first shot, I wasn't able. I went like halfway, and I got up, I got out. Then I warmed up a little bit again.
Wow.
And then I went back, and then I did it all.
Wow.
Everything, even my head. Like, I went underneath the water.
Full. And you stayed, what, a few seconds?
A few seconds, and then I got out freezing.
And?
Like crazy.
What?
I felt good, very good afterwards. It felt awful. I was under the ice.
Oh, man. I've done it.
Oh, you've done it too?
Oh, yeah, I've done that. Yeah, it is something.
In the river? Or
no,
or?
in a spa, but yeah, where they had the full body ultra cold water plunge. It is something, but it does feel good. It does. It feels great after.
And you know what? I didn't feel that cold after a while.
Really?
I even went outside with with nothing on, like just my bathing suit wet. And I was sitting with my friend for like 5-6 minutes. We just, calmed down and cooled down. And we felt good afterwards.
Okay.
But it's something. I'm not sure I'm going to do it again, but I'm happy that I did it. So that's something during my holidays that I did that I can talk about.
Very interesting. Okay, let's move on to politics.
Yes.
So last Thursday, we talked about this on CJD 800. There was this... And the Journal de Montreal and TVA, they do this every year, sort of the popularity contest. I remember they did it when I was minister every year. So
were you on the top or the list, or not on the list at all?
I was on the list, but I was the environment minister back then, so I had higher unfavorables than favorables. Which is your job usually. If you're environment minister, it's always. But so the Journal de Montréal kind of positioned you as quote unquote the most unpopular politician in Quebec, and even on the radio, I qualified that because your numbers were 21 favorables, 58 unfavorables. And at 58, you're at the same level as Justin Trudeau and just 2 points over François Legault. And Valérie Plante also was 56 or 58. But it was the difference between your favorables and unfavorables. But even at 21% favorables, you're in a better position than a lot of politicians. And actually, you're seemingly more popular than your party.
Yes.
So what was your reaction to this? And I know it's a beauty contest in a lot of ways.
I went up by 1% compared to last year, so that's the first good news.
There you go. There's a positive spin.
The second thing is that the worst that could happen is that when you're unknown.
Mm-hmm.
And of all the opposition leaders, I'm the more well-known, the most well-known. So
much better than the Liberals.
They're not even in the contest.
They're not.
So even yesterday on the front page of Le Journal de Montréal, there was a cartoon, and we were all there, but there was no Liberals.
Yes, there was. You're right. There was a review of the year, and there was federal, provincial, municipal leaders.
Yes, but
you were in it, but no Liberals.
No Liberals. So that's the other thing that is good. And 21%, it's still 8% more than what the party did in the last election. So it's much higher. We need and also we have to be honest, because of the pandemic, a lot of the negatives are because of what happened, because it was very polarizing, and a lot of people were scared about what we were saying. I think time is, letting the dust settle a bit and showing that it was not, exactly what we were told. And there's more and more people realizing maybe we were not that wrong. So I'm quite confident that time in politics will clean it up. And fortunately, now we talk about other issues, and now people realize, okay, they're conservative, but they're not just talking about one issue. They're talking about your taxes, lowering your taxes, having private health care to make sure we have better services, more freedom of choice for all sorts of things for the state, exploiting our resources responsibly in Quebec to make sure that we create wealth locally. So there's other issues where we're very different than the four other parties, and that, I think, is my job and the job of the party in the next few years to promote that and to show that we have a raison d'être on the political spectrum.
So last year also in the fall, you had a convention and there was a leadership review. You got through it, but not unscathed.
No.
You took some hits from Conservative Party members for different reasons. I don't want to go over the details of it, but how do you feel today about where you stand and where the party stands going into 2024?
Well, the first good news is that we had debates internally. A lot of ideas that came out of it. A lot of people who are satisfied, but many of them were also non-satisfied. We have a real grassroots party, which we didn't have at all when I took the leadership 2.5 years ago. So I'm very proud of it. Unlike some other parties, namely even the CAQ or even the Liberals, it's not parties that you see conventions where there's huge debates and huge people, fighting on resolutions and trying to elect people on the board, on the national board. We had all of that. There was 3 candidates for president, many candidates for vice presidents, like all sorts of races going on internally. A lot of it, some kind of division, but that's democracy. I think it's a sign of good health for a party when you have those internal debates. At the end of the day, we have to get out of there united, and that's what we did. But there was a lot of it was shaking for a while. A lot of people disappointed that we got over 500,000 votes and it didn't translate into seats. That's the huge problem that we faced in the last election. So we need to make sure that next time we focus and we win seats, especially here with the English community in Montreal.
And we'll talk after the news. We'll dive into that. I'm still. What is the Conservative brand? I mean, you got a big help from François Legault in the Quebec City region with all the mess with the tunnel, the flip-flop. You traditionally have strength in the Quebec City region, but at the same time, since the last election, and I know it's not easy, not having seats, and you're trying to get media attention, and you have 500,000 votes for sure. You're there. But, I mean, what's the Conservative brand today? What does it mean to be a Quebec Conservative?
Well, being a Quebec Conservative, as it says, it's to be, first off, fiscally conservative, making sure that we want to, pay less taxes, give a break to people, especially in a time of economic difficulties that the one that we're going through with the inflation and everything. We want to make sure that it's the government that is cutting its spending, and to give a break and to give a little bit of oxygen to taxpayers and put a little bit more money in their pockets. I think that's something very different. We're also very critical of what they call the Quebec model. All the other parties are united often vis-a-vis, for example, the healthcare system. We're the only ones saying, look, it's time to bring some competition to make sure the services are better provided to patients all across the province. We're also the only party that is saying, look, we have, and you're a former environment minister, you're not going to like what I'm going to say now, but we're the only ones saying, we have gas in Quebec, natural gas. It's time to stop importing 100% of that resource and try to have our own industry, making sure our people are working, making sure we're not carrying it a few thousand kilometers away, to make sure that environmentally and economically it would be better off for Quebecers. That's another example. I can go on
it's
and
okay.
on.
No, it's just I was just trying to get an idea on which are the issues that you're focusing on. Eric, last week I opened up the phone lines, text lines, talk about Quebec political leaders, and you have connected with a lot of English-speaking Quebecers still.
Very good news.
I say it very objectively. A lot of texters, a lot of callers like the way you stood up for English-speaking Quebecers during the 2022 election campaign, even before your clear stand on Bill 96 compared to the Liberals, which I still am not clear on how they stand on Bill 96, but that's another conversation. So what's the game plan? Because 2024 is going to be, I think, a very pivotal year. I mean, we don't have an election until 2026, of course, here in Quebec, but 2025 is going to be municipals. There's going to be a federal. And so
maybe 2024 for the federal.
Maybe, but I doubt it. I doubt it.
You never know.
I doubt it. But I want, because maybe you do have some information, because I also want to talk about your relationship with Pierre Poilievre. But, first of all, what's your game plan in 2024? Because you're kind of in a position where you have to build up your support with Francophones, because you're kind of stalled there if you look at the numbers since 2022. And yet you still have an interesting base with English-speaking Quebecers. Yep. So what's your game plan here?
Well, first off, if there was an election today, according to Quebec 125, le Quebec 125, we would win 7 seats all in the Quebec City region. Okay, so if there was an election today, we would have 7 seats in the Quebec City region. The thing I want to tell you is that even during the last election, the seats that we did the best outside of Quebec City were in the west end of Montreal among non-francophones. Right. That was our second base. Currently, all the polls this year, I'm very happy of that. I'm very proud. It's one of the things that I'm the most proud of. We're above 20% among non-francophones in almost all the polls, like between 20 and 25%. For the first time, I don't think we saw that in our lifetime, maybe during the years of the Equality Party, but that's a specific issue. Yeah. But other than that, the Liberals have always been at 60, 70%, even 80% in good years. Now they're never at 50. They're always under 50%. And I think it's a very good thing for non-francophones in Quebec to have an alternative, because François Legault, at the beginning, there was people listening to him. They didn't bite, but they were listening. There was some interest. Now I understand that there's no interest at all, and there's good reasons for that. The separatists of the Parti Québécois or Québec Solidaire cannot be an option for many non-francophones. And there's the Liberals who had the monopoly for years and never paid interest to the community that now are getting challenged. And I think it's sane in the democracy to have a challenger. And I'm very happy that there is some competition, and now Anglo-Quebecers have an option. That being said, the reason why we were defending the community's rights is not because it's not even linguistic in my book. It's just based on the fact that we have principles as conservatives where we defend individual freedom and civic rights. And those have been denied by the Legault government on many, many issues, as you know. The fact, for example, that you're controlling or not your school boards doesn't mean that the French in Quebec is doing better or worse. It has nothing to do.
Exactly.
So for me, it's not a linguistic issue at all. It's just a common sense thing. It's a conservative stand, a normal stand to have. And I hope that in the next year, it's one of my 3-4 priorities. You cannot have 50 priorities because you have no priorities. But you need less than the number of fingers that you have in your hand. And one of those priorities, of course, is to talk more to the English community, make sure that we link and make sure that, there's also a federal election, as we said.
There you go.
There's also some conservatives in Quebec federally, and they're used to it. Initially, when I became leader of the party 2.5 years ago, our first boom was among Francophones and in Quebec City, obviously. The English community arrived later on, much later than the Francophones for all sorts of reasons. But I think that there's still growth potential, especially that the Liberals decided not to have a leader for the next 2 years, which is, I think, a mistake, but that's their problem. But
the English community's support is fraction. There's still people that revert back to the Canadian Party or that are still dreaming of a new version of the Equality Party. There's still some Liberals. There's still people that are loyal to the Liberals. So it's how to bring these people under your tent.
There's even worse than that, and that's a huge concern as a Democrat, is that non-francophones vote less and less and less.
Yes, that's true.
So that's another sign that
they want to leave the province.
That it's a sign there's a problem.
Yeah, there is.
Because they don't feel involved. They feel that nobody's talking to them, that they're taken for granted.
So what about the tuition hikes for McGill and Concordia?
Well,
What's your take on that?
Obviously, I think there should be a challenge to the courts. Like, there's no way you can deny rights based on linguistics, because that's what it is, basically. It's not because they're outside of Quebec or not. It's linguistic, the purpose of it all. And you cannot discriminate and try to charge a different fee depending of your mother tongue. I mean, there's something in there that wouldn't pass the test of the charter in my book. So I'm looking forward to see if it's going to happen. But it's sad that every time there's an issue, the government is always taking a position that is unconstitutional. They did it on school boards. They did it with Bill 96. They did it with 23, Bill 40, Bill
15.
Bill 15. It's always the same problem. They're always doing things that they know legally it doesn't stand. But they go because they're scoring political points. They're not doing it to promote French in Quebec or to make sure that we have, we unite and we work together and we have a better future. No, they're doing it because they want to score points in the next poll. That's what François Legault has been doing, the wedge politics since the beginning. And I think this is terrible in Quebec. We're fortunate that the constitutional debate, I hope, is behind us. We've suffered too much in Quebec. We had 50 years. And and it's true for both sides. I'm talking to the yes side and the no side when I say that. Yeah. We need to unite and, talk about other issues and turn the page.
Real issues. The bread and butter issues. I got to move on, Eric, to what is the relationship between the Quebec Conservative Party and the Conservative Party of Canada? I've seen you meet with Pierre Poilievre. You seem to have a good relationship.
Absolutely.
But what is the relation? Because you're not a satellite office of the federal Conservatives.
It's like the Liberals. We don't have an organic link. But that being said, as you rightly pointed out, I have a very good relationship with Pierre Poilievre. I've known him for 20... How many years? 20-something years? I don't know. 24,
so for the upcoming
years.
Federal election, because the federal election, it could be a 24 or 25. But what we do know, it's going to come before the provincial. So how are you going to behave? What is going to be the modus operandi of Conservative Party of Quebec members with regards to the federal election?
As a leader of a provincial party, I'm not there to tell you who to vote for. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm a card-carrying member of the Conservative Party of Canada. I'm going to vote for Pierre Poilievre, obviously, but I'm not going to tell people how to vote. But if some supporters of the Quebec Conservative Party, because that's a problem we had in the last election. A lot of us are new. We were the party with the largest amount of members in Quebec, but probably those who have never been members of a party before.
True.
And a lot of green people in terms of experience. And for me, I encourage them to work provincially, federally, municipally to gain experience, because that's a shortage that we have right now. And, Pierre, personally, I'm still talking to him often. It's someone that I have a lot of respect for. When I was an ADQ candidate in the 2003 election, 20 years ago, David, Pierre Poilievre was an intern in Ottawa in the House of Commons, and he took his summer off to come campaign with me in Deux-Montagnes when I ran in Deux-Montagnes. So it shows you he wanted to learn French better and to understand Quebec politics a bit more. And I knew I figured it out at that time that he was smarter than the average and that he had a great political future.
Okay. So, that clarifies it, and interesting. I didn't know you were a card-carrying member of the Federal Conservative Party. So my last question very quickly, Eric, there's always rumors, and to me in 2023, aside from you and others, but one political person of the year to me in 2023 was Joëlle Boutin. When you consider, and nobody knows who she is, but as you know, of course, she was the CAQ member in Jean Talon who resigned and created all this domino effect that we all are aware of. But my question to you is, there's always these rumblings, and we saw it with the LA Kings decision by Éric Girard. For the first time in the 5 years of the CQ government, you started seeing caucus members come out publicly and say, no, this is not working for me. We haven't had any defections, and I know you're not going to announce anything today, but Tell me what, because I know you're always fishing. You managed to do it once. Yeah. You managed to bring over a member once. Is there, can you comment on what's going on between you, the Conservatives, and the CAQ caucus?
I had a lot of textos and a lot of emails and a lot of phone calls in the last 2 weeks and even today to wish them Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and a lot of discussions. And I'm still going to work on
There are discussions.
Of course. It's politics. I mean, everybody's opening up all the doors, and, but regarding what you said with Jean Talon, I just want to specifically remind you something. The real failure of the CAQ started in April. It started way before that when they announced that they were backtracking on the
third
bridge
link.
or the tunnel or
whatever
the third link between Quebec City and the South Shore.
Yeah.
And that's where it started. That's where we felt it really. And currently, just give you an idea, because people, like the West End of Montreal used to be a stronghold for the Liberals. Well, imagine that the same thing was true for the CAQ in Quebec City.
Yeah.
Their stronghold, their West Island for the Liberals, for the CAQ, it was Quebec City. Currently, if there was an election today, the CAQ would be fourth at 16% of the vote. So it's just to show you the failure and how they're in a free fall right now.
Yeah, they'd be fourth, and the fifth would be, of course, the Liberals. So, so anyways, I have to end it there. Thank you so much. Great conversation as always. Eric, I wish you the best for 2024.
Happy New Year to you and all your listeners. David.
All right. Thank you very much for coming.
Merci.
The Conservative Party of Quebec leader, Éric Duhaime.